Hello Nidorinos and Nidorinos and welcome to Olive Iron City, where today we have a matchup that I'm actually really excited for, as it's the Olive Iron Ore hosting the Virbank Venom. And the Venom are going to start out with Venusaur and Crobat, their top two draft picks, whereas Aggron and Ferrothorn are going to start out for the Olive Iron Ore. Now, Olive Iron Ore have been very dominant this season and they are in first place, but can the Virbank Venom take them down? Let us know in the comments below who you think is going to win today. Now Crobat has that speed advantage and it's going to go for a super effective move to start off with, and it goes to the Magma Storm, targeting Aggron here. A very good hit, but even more importantly, Aggron's going to be taking damage from that Magma Storm in between turns. Magma Horn from Venusaur is avoided by Aggron though, as Aggron has its opportunity to respond, and that Magma Storm actually wasn't super effective on Aggron. Aggron does go with an Air Slash there on Venusaur. Now that is super effective, a decent hit there, and Ferrothorn goes for his first move of the matchup, and it's going to go with the Teeter Dance. So it's going to confuse everybody on the battlefield except for itself, so it's even going to confuse its own teammate. So Aggron has even more to deal with now because it is confused and it has that Magma Storm. It's going to be giving it damage in between turns. Here's that Magma Storm, taking Aggron down into the yellow. But as always, this is a 6-on-6 metronome battle, and if we hit that 20-minute time limit, we will go into single battle overtime. And the Olive Iron have actually lost in overtime before, so they know what it feels like to go that far. As Crobat is able to shake off its confusion, and it goes for a Dream Eater, which doesn't affect Aggron because it is awake. Venusaur also shakes off its confusion. And it's going to go with an Uproar here, so no one's going to be going to sleep for the next few turns, as Aggron takes more damage from the Virbank Venom, although that time it wasn't very effective. Now Aggron also shakes off its confusion, which is really good for the Olive Iron. They didn't want Ferrothorn's move to backfire, as Aggron goes with a Mega Horn, targeting Crobat with that move. Now it's not very effective, would have been better off targeting Venusaur, or at least capitalizing on its grass typing. Ferrothorn's going to go with a Roar of Time, going for the Dragon type attack. And it hits the Cantonian starter with that move, takes it down into the yellow. As Aggron takes more damage, and that Magma Storm actually takes it down into the red, so Aggron probably only has about one more turn left. Crobat shakes off its confusion again. And it's going to go with the Slack Off and restore its health here. Now the Olive Iron have been so dominant this season. Virbank Venom are at a huge type disadvantage here, as Venusaur continues its Uproar, this time going for Ferrothorn. Ferrothorn taking its first damage of the matchup. And Aggron snaps out of its confusion, so nobody's actually hit himself yet. And Aggron's going to go with the Cotton Spore. This Cotton Spore doesn't affect Venusaur, but it will lower Crobat's speed. Yeah, Ferrothorn is recharging, and Aggron takes more damage from that Magma Storm, but it's still hanging on here. So probably this may be its last turn for Aggron in this matchup, especially if the Virbank Venom can go for an offensive move. Now Crobat's actually slower than Venusaur now thanks to that Cotton Spore, but Venusaur's hit itself in its confusion, taking itself down into the red, and Crobat's hit itself as well. This is fantastic for the Olive Iron Ore. That Teeter Dance paying off fantastically for them, as Aggron goes with the Growth. Now, if that Magma Storm continues, that's a very bad move for Aggron to use, as it boosts its attack and special attack. Ferrothorn now is going to go with the Water Gun. Targets Crobat with that move. Doesn't do a great deal of damage, but here's that Magma Storm, and it finishes Aggron off. So Aggron has been eliminated from this matchup. This is exactly what the Virbank Venom need. Take down the Olive Iron Pokemon as fast as possible. That is the way that most teams have beaten the Ore, as Excadrill comes out as the third Pokemon for the Steel types. Excadrill does have the speed advantage on the field too, thanks to Crobat's speed being lowered, and it goes with the Power Split and targets Venusaur here. Now Venusaur is still confused, but this time it does shake it off, so Venusaur is not going to eliminate itself. Venusaur is going to go with the Sing, but Ferrothorn avoids that attack, so it's going to stay awake. This Crobat also shakes off its confusion. And Crobat's going to go with a Fire Lash. It's going for another super effective move on the Steel types, and a very good hit onto Excadrill, taking it down into the yellow. And it's also going to lower Excadrill's defense with that attack. Now Ferrothorn's going to go with the Horn Leech. It's going to restore some of its own health here, targeting Venusaur. And Venusaur Venusaur is still hanging on in that red, as it's not very effective, but Ferrothorn gets a little bit of health back. And Excadrill has the opportunity to finish Venusaur off here, and it's going to go with a Pluck. And it does go for the Grass type, but that's a super effective move. Venusaur has been eliminated, so that's one Pokemon down for both sides now. And just to rub it in the Virbank Venom's face, Excadrill will eat that Leopard Berry that it stole from Venusaur. This Crobat has finally snapped out of its confusion, and it's going to go for another super effective move. Goes with a Fire Fang, this time targeting Ferrothorn, and another huge move onto the Steel types. Ferrothorn's going to respond though. It goes with the Sand Tomb, but it doesn't affect Crobat because Crobat is immune to ground type attacks. And speaking of being immune, the Olivine are immune to poison type attacks, which every Pokemon on the Virbank Venom is, as Roserade comes out for the Venom. Now, Roserade was actually drafted third onto the Venom, so the Virbank Venom is starting out with their top 3 Pokemon. They know how big this matchup is, as that Leech Seed won't affect Ferrothorn. Excadrill is going to go with the Mind Reader. Takes aim at Crobat with that Mind Reader. Crobat now is going to go with the Fairy Lock, so it's not going for the offensive move. Here's Ferrothorn going with the Power Up Punch, so it's going to boost its attack with this move, and it goes for Roserade. And it's not very effective. But there we go, Ferrothorn's attack stat does get a boost. The Olivine are the only team with 11 victories so far this season. They've won their last 3 games. They had a huge winning streak earlier on in the season. They're going to look to rebuild on that as we have the last 4 rounds in the season before we get into the trials in 4 weeks. That Metal Sound targeting Excadrill is going to lower Excadrill's special defense here. And Excadrill's opportunity to respond goes with a submission. And it's going to target Crobat here. Does very minimal damage to the Flying Poison type, but Excadrill does get a little bit of recoil damage there as well. Crobat's going to go with the Payback. Instead goes for Ferrothorn. You have to think it would have been better to target Excadrill there, but it does take Ferrothorn down into the red, who's just holding on. And Ferrothorn's going to go with the Circle Throw. Targets Roserade here, so it'll send Roserade back to the bench for that not very effective move. But don't be confused, Roserade is still in this matchup as we have Tentacruel coming out for the Virbank Venom, and that is their 4th ranked Pokemon, their 4th drafted Pokemon. They are starting out with their top 4 Pokemon again. That's how much this battle means to the Virbank Venom. They want this victory over the top side. As Tentacruel goes with the Wing Attack on Excadrill, which isn't very effective, but it gets Excadrill down into the red. Now Excadrill is going to go with the Aromatic Mist. And that Mist is going to boost the special defense of Ferrothorn here. Ferrothorn already has that 131 defense and 116 special defense. It is a very defensive Pokemon. That's why it could handle that Fire Fang from Crobat earlier. As Crobat goes with the Aqua Ring, it's going to restore some health in between turns. But first we're going to get a Luster Perch from Ferrothorn. And this will be super effective on Crobat, which takes it down into the yellow, but Crobat's still holding on here. As Crobat's special defense is lowered. There's that Aqua Ring though, restoring some of Crobat's health. Now, the Virbank Venom are sitting 5th. They've just dropped out of the top 4. They've been a very consistent side, hanging around that top 4 line for a while now as Tentacruel goes with a Belly Drum. So it's going to cut down on its own health to maximize its attack stat. Excadrill could capitalize here on Tentacruel, taking away its own health, but instead goes with a Role Play. So Excadrill's Mold Breaker ability is going to become the Liquid Ooze. Same as Tentacruel's. This Crobat now sets up for its turn. It goes with a Dragon Breath. Crobat's going to target Excadrill here, and it'll get the elimination. So Excadrill has been taken down. The Virbank Venom have taken back the lead. This is what they need to do, stay ahead of the Olivine as we get a Shadow Ball coming from Ferrothorn. It's going to target Crobat with this move. And Crobat's now been taken down by Ferrothorn, so we're all leveled up again instantly in this matchup. Now Roserade's going to come back out for the Virbank Venom. 4th Pokemon coming out for the Olivine, and it's Bronzong, the Psychic Steel type. Bronzong, another very defensive Pokemon with its defense and special defense at 116. Tentacruel with that speed advantage is going to go with the Topsy-Turvy. Targets Ferrothorn with this attack. So, all of Ferrothorn's stat changes have been reversed. Roserade now is going to go with a Future Sight. We'll see this move take impact in a number of turns, but it's targeting Bronzong with that move. Bronzong now is going to go with a Flail. Targets Tentacruel with that move. Does very minimal damage though, but does get Tentacruel down into the yellow. Ferrothorn is going to go with the Focus Blast, but Tentacruel does avoid that attack. If the Virbank Venom win this, you have to think they're surely going to jump back up into the top 4. But if they lose, they may slip further down the top 8. They don't want that as we get ever so close to the trials in 4 weeks. Heat Crash though, coming from Tentacruel, and a huge hit on the Bronzong, super effective. Those super effective hits keep coming from the Virbank Venom. It gets Bronzong down into the red as we get a Bone Rush coming from Roserade. And that will finish Ferrothorn off with a critical hit. Ferrothorn has been eliminated. Again, the Virbank Venom seem to just be staying ever so slightly ahead of the Olivine Ore. That first impression from Bronzong is going to fail. That move will only work on a Pokemon's first turn in the matchup as Copperajah comes out onto the battlefield. Now that speed advantage that the Virbank Venom have at the moment is very important to their cause here today as we get a Tar Shot onto Copperajah. It's going to lower Copperajah's speed, but more importantly it'll make it weaker to fire type attacks, which it's already vulnerable to. Roserade's going to go with the Electrify. Targets Copperajah with that, so it's going to electrify Copperajah's attacks. Now Bronzong, who's still holding on here, goes with the Magic Coat, so it's not going to go for an offensive attack. Bronzong should try to capitalize on its Psychic typing advantage that it has over the poison types of the Virbank Venom. Airy Impulse now coming from Copperajah, going for Roserade. Roserade having its special attack lowered as Bronzong takes that Future Sight attack, but it's still hanging on because that Future Sight was not very effective. Now Roserade having that special attack if it's lowered is very good for the Olivine Ore because Roserade has 125 special attack as we get a Slam coming from Tentacruel. And this will finish Bronzong off, which means there are only 2 Pokemon remaining for the Olivine Ore as the Virbank Venom are taking the lead. They are taking control of this matchup because they still have 4 Pokemon remaining. Now Roserade is going to prepare for a Solar Blade, but it's going to absorb that light in this turn. We'll see it take effect in the next turn. Copperajah though is going to go with a Lava Plume. This is going to hit everybody on the field, so it'll be super effective on Roserade. Takes it down into the yellow. Tentacruel, it's barely left a mark on. But just as importantly for the Olivine Ore, both Roserade and Tentacruel are left with a burn. So they're going to be taking damage from that burn in between turns. Last Pokemon for the Olivine Ore coming in, and it's Klinklang. Tentacruel now goes with the Seed Bomb. Continuing to target Copperajah, but it's not very effective. Was still a decent hit. Another grass type attack that's going to hit Copperajah is that Solar Blade. So 1-2 hit by Roserade and Tentacruel. Not very effective, but they are targeting Copperajah here. Klinklang's going to go with the Guard Swap. Focusing in on Roserade here. So they do switch all the changes that have happened to the defense and special defense of Roserade. As we get a Charge Beam, but Roserade avoids that attack from Copperajah, and there's that burn though still impacting the Virbank Venom. Takes Roserade actually down into the red. You have to think Copperajah should have gone for that Charge Beam on Tentacruel though. Tentacruel being a part Water type. That Tentacruel goes with that Psycho Cut, targeting Klinklang. Not very effective. Those resistances of the Olivine Ore have been very key throughout the season. An Aeroblast now being set up by Klinklang. Looks like it's going to target Tentacruel. And this will finish the Poison Water Pokemon off, so Tentacruel has been eliminated. Roserade is going to go with the Crush Grip. Going going for Kling Klang, and again, another not very effective move on the Olive Iron Ore. Copperajah has its opportunity to focus solely on Roserade here, and it's going to go with a Mega Punch. This should get the elimination, and it does, so Roserade has been taken down, and we are now left with 2 Pokemon per side, the Olive Iron Ore, with Copperajah and Kling Klang left, whereas the Virbank Venom are about to send out their last 2 Pokemon. So never count out the Olive Iron Ore, as Toxapex, who's been very impressive this season, comes out, and the last Pokemon for the Virbank Venom is Toxtricity in its low-key form. Its amped form being a member of the Lumiose Lightning. Now Kling Klang has the speed advantage on the field. This is very important for the Olive Iron Ore as it goes with a Bug Bite. Targets Toxapex here, but it's not very effective, and Toxapex has amazing defenses. That defense of 152, 142 special defense. And Toxtricity going for its first move of the matchup, and it's going to go with the Muddy Water, but Copperajah is going to avoid that attack, so it's just going to hit Kling Klang. And a very good hit onto Kling Klang, taking it down into the yellow. Now Toxapex is going to go with the Sweet Scent. Now Sweet Scent is going to lower the evasiveness of Copperajah here, which could be very good for the Venom. Copperajah is going to respond with a Revenge, and it's going to go for Toxtricity. It's not going to do a great deal of damage as it's not very effective. But we're surely getting into the last moments of this matchup as Kling Klang sets up for its turn. It goes with a Hail, so it's going to start the Hail from the sky, and everyone's going to start taking damage from that in between turns. Now Toxtricity is going to go with a Sacred Sword. This will be super effective. And it goes for Kling Klang, and it gets the elimination. So Kling Klang has been taken down as we get our 3-minute warning. If we hit that 20 minutes, we do go into overtime, which will turn it into a single one-on-one battle. Now Toxapex is going to target Copperajah with that tackle. That's going to do minimal damage. Copperajah now going to respond. The Virbank Venom has taken the lead in these dire moments, but we get a Will-O-Wisp coming from Copperajah. Looks like it's going to go for Toxapex. So Toxapex is now burned, just like Tentacruel and Roserade were. Those status conditions having a big impact in the matchup. And there's that Hail coming into effect, damaging everyone on the field. Also that burn hurting Toxapex now. Now Toxtricity has the speed advantage for the Virbank Venom, so Copperajah needs to stand up to this. Toxtricity though goes with the rest, so it must be feeling confident that it feels like it can go to sleep and put its health back at 100%. As we get our 2-minute warning now, we only have 2 minutes left in this matchup. Toxapex is quicker than Copperajah, so it's going to go for a Whirlpool, so now Copperajah is going to be taking damage from that Whirlpool in between turns. Copperajah is taken down into the yellow by Toxapex there. It's going to respond with a Sweet Scent of its own. And that Sweet Scent will hit Toxapex, lowering Toxapex and Toxtricity's evasiveness. Now you'd like to think that Toxtricity probably can't avoid too many moves whilst it's asleep on the battlefield. Now Copperajah is the only Pokemon in the yellow at the moment, so that health advantage is strongly on the side of the Virbank Venom, as that Whirlpool hits Copperajah hard. Now Copperajah must be hoping that it can last until that overtime hits. Toxapex needs to get that elimination as that 60-second countdown comes onto the field, but a clear Smog will not affect Copperajah as it is immune to it. And Copperajah is going to respond with a Round, and it's going to hit Toxapex with that move. So we have 46 seconds left on the clock, and there's that Hail. Copperajah is waiting for that clock to count down. But that Hail takes Copperajah down into the red, and there's that burn hitting Toxapex, and Copperajah takes damage from the Whirlpool. But Copperajah is still hanging on. Barely, but we will get another turn in this battle. We have 25 seconds left. Now Toxtricity again, still asleep on the field, 20 seconds left. Toxapex setting up for its turn. And it goes for the Icicle Spear. This is a multi-hit move. It hits once. It's going to have to hit twice, but it gets the job done. Copperajah has been eliminated. And the Verbank Venom have gotten the victory over the Olivine Ore. That is only the 4th loss of the Olivine Ore all season, as that countdown clock was coming towards 0. A fantastic performance. Crobat getting multiple super effective moves in this matchup. A very impressive showing. And I can't believe the Verbank Venom came out of this matchup with the victory over the dominant Olivine Ore. They did very well to hold their own. A very impressive showing. They're going to want to look to repeat that sort of stuff over the next 3 rounds as we get ever closer to the trials. Next week, the Verbank Venom are going to be facing the Ballamy Angels in Ballamy City, a side they actually have a type advantage over, so we'll see how they go next week on the road, whereas the Olivine Ore are going to be staying home next week in Olivine City. They're going to be hosting the Lumos Lightning, who have had a massive losing streak as of late, and the Olivine Ore are going to look to capitalize on that, and they are definitely the type of side that can do that. But even when you think the Verbank Venom had control of this matchup, the Olivine Ore did very well to get the eliminations on Roserade and Tentacruel. But it was very well done by Toxtricity. That super effective move on Klinklang, and then they chipped away at Copraja. A big win for the Verbank Venom. But Nidorinos, thank you so much for watching. Let us know in the comments below who you thought was the best on field today, and if you enjoyed what you saw, leave a like, share, subscribe, but more importantly, always remember, you are awesome, and I will speak to you next time. Bye.